Oh, hello again. John Michael at Bennett Infinity in Allentown. What? That's not true. I used to work there. Now, John Michael at the Context is Everything Media Network reading this book, Healing the Child Within. Please subscribe if you enjoy the content. More to come. Chapter 14, Integrating. This is on the healing side of the child within. As we transform, we begin to integrate and apply our transformation to our daily life. To integrate means to make whole from separate parts. Healing means moving toward wholeness, or integrating, which is coming into order. Healing and integration are the opposite of the confusion and chaos of the past. From all of our recovery work, we now see what we have learned and integrated for the good in our life. By this stage, we have progressively less and less confusion and difficulty in using what we have worked through and learned. Now we simply do what needs to be done, almost as though by reflex. At the integration stage, we are just who we are and have no need to apologize to anyone for being ourselves. We can relax, play, and have fun without guilt. At the same time, we have learned to set limits where doing so is appropriate for our needs. We know and act upon our rights. We can begin to put a picture together that may help to clarify this process of healing our child within, which is figure 3, which is from earlier in the book. As you can see, we're almost done with the book. We have like 30 pages left. In the illustration, we see that recovery is not a static happening or an event. It doesn't simply happen to us and then we start enjoying life. Recovery is not an all or none issue. Rather, it is an ongoing process that continues in the here and now, over the multiplicity of here and nows. The ever-present here and now. The here and now. Whenever you're listening, or whenever I read. In our recovery, we don't awaken just once. We awaken numerous not just once. We tell it many times as we occasionally can grow and balance and enjoy our lives. Oh, figure 3 is here. Here's figure 3 if you want to read it. That is a difficult thing for me to read, so I'll just leave it here for a second. You can pause it and you can read it. Let's see if I can read it. Very difficult for me to verbalize, so I'm not going to read it aloud. We begin to identify our losses from our past and present and grieve them as they come up. And as core issues surface for us, we talk about them and work through them. We identify our issues, many issues. We may notice that 2 come up for us often: all or none thinking and behaving, and control. Depending on the number and severity of our ungrieved losses, we may have had to use this kind of thinking and behaving to survive. See the top left of figure 3. Being a small child, there were few other ways to survive. But now in the transformation and integration stage, we begin to get free of their hold on us. As we do so, we notice that our need to control is gradually decreasing. We begin to identify our needs and search out ways to get them met in a healthy manner. And we begin to practice being real by being our real self. Healing our child within does not usually occur in a linear fashion, as many as may be suggested by the sequence in Figure 3. Rather, it tends to occur in waves or in circular fashion, then in a spiral one, as does our story. The Hero's Journey as well by Joseph Campbell. A circle, a cycle, ongoing. But one rotation is generally the cycle of a narrative and the growth of a character. Look it up. Okay. Spiral. Where's the word spiral? Okay. Each time we complete and integrate a story, i.e., that particular episode of our life story, we are then free to create a newer, bigger, and more truthful or honest story. Part of this truth and honesty has to do with our being real, who we really are. As we progress and grow in life, we then compile a bigger and bigger story and then integrate each into our life. In our healing, integration, and growth, there will often be what feels like regression, slipping backward or backsliding. Everything we seem to have gained, we may feel like we have lost. We may end up feeling confused, hopeless, and in pain. This is a crucial point in our story and in our life. This is an opportunity for us to learn something important about our child within. Because if we stay with our feelings and our experiences of the present moment, the now, even though all may seem lost, will likely once again discover that the way out of our pain is through it. We help ourselves go through it by being in it and telling our story about it to trusted others. It will also be helpful for us to experience the pain and joy in solitude. It can be at this time of solitude that we consider there is something in life more powerful than we. While doing so, it can be difficult. While doing so can be difficult if we dare. We can even go inward in a state of humility and surrender and ask a question as, if there is a God or higher power out there, please help me. By now, this process is familiar to us. Not only is our story, but it is identifying a loss whenever one may come up for us and then grieving it. As we so grieve our loss and tell our story, we can consider a new possibility, that we can take a step back from it at times and observe it. When we step back even further and observe, we begin to set a pattern of many stories, ebbing and flowing, growing and regressing, but in ever upward and expanding direction overall. Given time, it is our recovery and our growth. When we were children, to survive our particular environment, we had to tolerate being mistreated. Now we no longer have to tolerate being mistreated. We now have a choice. Integration often comes at between 3 and 5 years of full recovery program. When stress comes up that knocks us back into a survival stage feeling, we are now able to awaken and recognize a core issue rapidly, cycle through the transformation stages rapidly, reminding ourselves of what is happening and how not to be mistreated, and that we do not have boundary, that we do have boundaries, and we do have choices. We no longer have to waste our energy in denial, because we now sense and see things for what they really are. Relative to our past, we are stuck only a very short time. We no longer have to stop and think consciously about what is happening, although it is okay to do so. We just do it. We fully reclaim our real self, including being real, when we feel like it and deciding when not to be real in certain situations or around certain people. When we do experience a loss, feel frightened, upset, or age regress, we recycle it, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. We establish appropriate boundaries and limits with people. If people continue to run roughshod over us or ignore us, we say either, "No, you can't do that anymore," or we get out. We don't stand in the rain anymore to pretend it isn't raining. We are no longer victims or martyrs. Our journey thus far in healing our child within can be summarized in part in the following poem by Portia Nelson. Could be Portia. Portia Nelson. Oh, there's more figures here. I'm going to show you figure 4 here. And I'm going to show you figure 5 here. And then I'm going to carry on. Portia Nelson's autobiography in 5 short chapters. Chapter 1. I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am hopeless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2. I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3. I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it is there. I still fall in. It is a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5. I walk down another street. I like that. And that's it. Have a lovely day. God bless. And goodbye.